Hey, Diana, did you know firing myself was one of the smartest things I ever did?
Mark, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Ladies and gentlemen, jurists and just curious, welcome to the Successful Barrister podcast. Here you'll learn about marketing, management, and life skills for lawyers that probably won't get you disbarred. Hosted by Marc Whitehead, a seasoned lawyer who remembers when fax machines were cutting edge, and Diana Berry, attorney, COO, and the brains behind the scenes. Together, they are the legal world's most dynamic duo since statutes met regulations. So if you're looking to build a practice, not a prison, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Successful Barrister, where legal legends are made.
And welcome to the Successful Barrister podcast, the podcast for lawyers and law firm leaders about marketing, management, and life skills that probably won't get you disbarred. I am your host, Marc Whitehead, alongside my co-host, my number one, my COO, Diana Berry. Hey, Diana, what's up?
Not much, Mark. You are looking a little snazzy. Well, very snazzy today, if I may say that in a very HR politically correct way.
I know. I actually have a tie and a matching pocket square on.
Yep. And why are you all snazzy?
Because I had to be on TV this morning. Because this week...
Had to be?
Well, okay. Wanted to be.
There
was
you
invited
go.
to be.
Okay. Well, I think that's crucial for today's podcast that we made that distinction.
I was on a morning talk show this morning.
A big one in Houston.
Yeah, local TV. It's National Mental Health Awareness Week, and I was invited to come on and speak about disability mental health as it relates to disability. So I had to cook up some talking points real quick over the weekend and send them into the station so they could make some graphics, and we did the whole thing. So
that's exciting.
It was fun. So
well, and you like that kind of thing.
Of course, I totally dig that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, you have to pull teeth to get me to do this podcast.
I don't know. I do it.
You actually enjoy making me do things I don't like to do.
I know.
So,
I know.
But I think that's actually a crucial point to know about yourself, and crucial to this podcast that we're talking about today.
Right. So, my ego loves being on TV. You don't have to convince me. Like, what do you want to talk about? What the hell? I'll talk about anything. I'll talk about my dog. I'll talk about my boat, whatever. I'll talk about
Y'all ended up talking about A&M as you closed.
We did talk about, we were both Aggies. Mm-hmm. And so at the close of the interview, we had to give a gig 'em thumbs up to the camera to tweak all those T-sips out there, my daughter included. So
yeah, the Baylor Bear and me kind of cringed.
Yes, I know.
I will go ahead and say that.
Yeah,
but so today's podcast is actually a follow-up to an outline that you did about the owner as the choke point, a recent podcast. I really thought that while a great outline and a great podcast, it kind of left...
Excellent, outstanding, highly rated podcast that I wrote.
So about that, what I felt like it might have left the listener hanging in terms of solutions. And I love my solutions. So the thesis of today's podcast is, so you identified yourself as the choke point via some of the things Mark mentioned in the last podcast. And today we're going to identify some solutions maybe for you using stories from Mark's past, or how he kind of navigated these waters, shifting from a trial attorney to basically the CEO.
Right. Which is a big mental shift in your head, because you're trained, from a young age that I'm going to be a trial lawyer. I took all the trial ad classes in law school. I worked for judges so I could watch trials. I'm going to be a trial lawyer. I'm going to be in the courtroom and I'm going to be knocking out cases. And I did for a while. But what I realized that wasn't necessarily my calling. And quite frankly, in my world, that's a young man's game. Now, I know a lot of lawyers who are still trying cases. Mark Lanier is 65 years old and still trying cases. Howard Nations, God knows how old Howard is. Howard is still trying cases. But that's not how I came to see how my life was going to turn out. I'm like, wait a minute, I think I want to take a step back and I want to take a different path.
Well, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in depth, as well as some of the practical steps that you've done to shift from being the trial attorney to the CEO of your law firm, and how you were able to make that a successful transition.
Yes. It all starts with the mind shift.
Yep. So when we come back, we'll just go right into it.
All right.
All right.
This podcast is sponsored by Marc Whitehead Associates, a national disability benefits law firm. Marc Whitehead runs a firm of over 60 dedicated people whose mission is to make a difference in the lives of our injured and disabled clients. Marc represents disabled claimants in Social Security disability, private disability insurance, and veterans disability claims in all 50 states. Marc Whitehead is double board certified in both Social Security disability law and personal injury trial law. Marc has litigated disability cases in over 40 states and counting and can help your clients too. Stop throwing your phone calls away. Call Marc Whitehead at 701-VIP-LEAD. That's 701-VIP-LEAD. Or visit our website at disabilitydenials.com. Referral fees are paid in all jurisdictions where it is permitted. Refer us your disability cases today and know that your clients will be in good hands.
Okay, and we're back. And so, Marc, I think you did a perfect segue into my first point, which is to know thyself, the mindset shift it takes to go from, if you think you're a CEO, to going to a CEO, from being a trial attorney. And so you had walked us through some of the things that were going through your head. How did you know that you felt that was a young man's game, even though others have not made that distinction?
Yeah, I have 4 children, and I wanted to spend time with my family and with my children. That was be number one. And being a trial lawyer, you're a slave to a trial calendar. You just truly are. I mean, at one point, I had hundreds of cases in litigation where I was either first chair or second chair on those cases, in the way I would assume most jurisdictions work. I certainly know the way our jurisdiction works is, you're on a 2-week trial docket, which means you could get called to go to trial anytime during that 2-week period. And so you were literally never not on call to go to trial. And for a while, that was exciting. That was fun, and I got to try a lot of cases. But what I realized is the lifestyle, it really, it consumes you. It really starts to consume you. And I've had other things I wanted to do. I wanted to spend time with my family. I wanted to spend time traveling. I wanted to, lead a bit of a less stressful life. I also realized that by being the head litigator, I was restricting the ability of the firm to grow. We talked about that last time. In my view, there's really a choice that you have to make as a law firm leader. Are you going to be the head litigator? If so, great. Hire somebody to run your firm. Or do you want to run your firm and grow your firm? And then you can hire people to litigate for you. And I end up kind of making the latter choice.
Yep. And so I think that going back to the first episode, when the owner identifies himself or herself as the choke point, then or the hero, right? That was the phrase you kept using.
Killing the hero.
We're trying to kill the hero, but it's definitely not a one size fits all. As in, Marc made this choice. You have to decide whether it's the right choice for you. And so, I think that this is where you can stop being the quote unquote hero. You're trying to choose which role you want to play and not trying to play all of them.
So here's the real thing for me. It wasn't, it's killing the hero, but what it really means is it means killing the ego. The ego in me said I had to be the man. I had to be the trial lawyer. I had to be the face of us in the courtroom. And that was really ego driven. And I had to get past that. I had to, quote unquote, kill the ego to get to that point where I could take a step back, let other lawyers take the forefront.
Well, and I think it's interesting because if you shift that perspective, you still are the face of the firm, just not in the courtroom. I think the Exhibit A.
I was on TV today.
We just came back from Fireproof. We did a podcast on that. Mike Moore said the same thing. He said he hadn't tried a case. He will go and talk to some clients when it's necessary, but he hasn't tried a case in,
I don't know, long
time, he said, but he is still the Mike Morse law firm. And so I think you have to decide which hero you want to be. You just can't be all of them. And then digging even deeper, if you're still like, but I don't know, right? I don't know, which you're in this position where I think a lot of our listeners are, they were attorneys and they started their own shop and now they've got this they've got employees, they've got payroll, and they were like, I don't
Like,
know
oh crap, where did this come?
what
What's
happened now.
payroll taxes? How did that? What? Where did that
Exactly.
come from?
And so I think that some of the questions that you can ask yourself is what energizes me? What drains me? Mark, we were talking a little bit about this. Trial attorneys typically are, you said extroverts.
They tend to be extrovert or people, people persons. Am I saying that correctly? I think so.
Mhm.
You have to be interested in people. You have to be interested in people's stories. You need to be inquisitive. You want to pull stories out of people. That's what, in my opinion, makes a good trial attorney. Um, and I will say that, your perspective can shift over time because I did find that very interesting, 30 years ago. But then over time is like, I think I probably reached a level of burnout somewhere in there, and
Mhm.
I didn't care so much about the stories as I used to. And I think that's kind of the epiphany I had was, when I don't find this fun anymore, when I don't really care as much as I used to, like maybe I need to try something different.
And maybe that was your aha moment that, yeah, let's pivot the firm. And so I think some tools that are out there that we've talked a lot about on this podcast, I like the delegate and elevate tool. I preach it ad nauseum to our attorneys, as you know. All the things, list everything you do in a week under the like, love, great at, and then don't like, not good at. And
Right.
hopefully in between then those are the ranges of quadrants you can get to.
Let's break that down a little bit because number one, you talk really fast. And I think that
I've got a long outline here,
it
Mark.
was a really important point, and I would like you to break that down a little bit more clearly because I think this is extremely important.
Okay. Well, so one of the tools that you can do is the EOS tool. It's called Delegate
Delegate and
and
elevate.
Elevate. It is a quadrant-based tool. And
For
if
those of you who don't understand, quadrant means there's 4.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Oh, there's
I
the Aggie helping us out.
Yes.
So you start at the top left, and that's where you put everything that you do in a week that you love and that you're great at. And then you move to the top right. That's the things that you kind of that you like, not love, but like and are good at. Moving back to the bottom left, now you're at don't like, things you don't like, but are good at. And then your bottom right is the things you don't like and you're not good at all.
Okay, perfect. So this is a great exercise that we make all of our people do.
Everyone, I just had to do it.
Yeah, I haven't done it lately, but I have done it. But the whole idea is to figure out what to do, what to delegate, what to drop.
Exactly. Yes, it is one of those things where, and I think that when you do that, the goal is to spend 80% of your time in the top 2 quadrants. And I think hopefully by doing an exercise like this, you'll be able to more readily identify whether you are on the CEO path or whether you're more on the I'm going to stay a litigator path or I'm going to stay the rainmaker for the firm path if you're an estate planning attorney. We also hear a lot about the Colby Index in some of our masterminds and other groups that we're in. I've also done the Clifton Strengths test. Have you done that? The Gallup book? It's a little tiny book. Yeah.
No, I don't think I have.
I
I've heard of
liked
it. I don't
know that it's ever a full podcast, but it's a good one that you can do. I just like most of Gallup's work, but it's another good one if you want to do it. You buy the book and the quiz has a QR code and you just take the test and it's a good one. But my second point, Mark, is that once you've identified whichever path you're going to pursue, surround yourself with great community. And I think, Mark, that's one of the most important things that you have done, not only for yourself, but for me as your COO and your integrator, but also your attorneys. So we talked last time about the importance of masterminds and coaching and a few other things. But of all of the groups that are out there, how did you know when you found your tribe, your people? Because, I think you used to be a member of NTL at some point, right?
I still am a member of NTL.
Well, sorry, you used to be a more active member. We don't usually, I've been to some NTL conferences, but
Right.
you don't actively go plan your calendar around
Right.
NTL conferences.
Right. So I would say, obviously, we've said this ad infinitum on this podcast, but I think Atticus was the first, I would say, non-practitioner group that I became involved with. Atticus is a lawyer coaching group that's been around for 35 years or more. And Their job is to help you design a lifestyle practice, a practice that fits the life that you want to live, as opposed to, defining your life around your practice. So that was the first group that I was involved with. It was a non-practitioner group. Now, my original group, obviously, was the Texas Trial Lawyers, but that's a practitioner group. They're all about how to try a better case. And that is, I definitely love that group of people, and I'm still on the board of directors, and, I'm still friends with all those people, and all those people are great referral sources, by the way. But in terms of actually building a practice, Atticus would have been the first group. That is probably the one that I've been with the longest. I would say second would be PILMA, Ken Hardison's group, which we're going to this coming week.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to the PILMA Super Summit in San Antonio. Cheap plug. Of course, this won't come out until after that has occurred. But I would say those are two really influential groups.
And AAJ.
And AAJ. AAJ is, again, a practitioner group.
Right.
So, you have to divide your time. Ultimately, I would love to do more things. You mentioned NTL, would love to do more NTL, would love to do more fireproof. There's simply only so many days in the year that you can dedicate to this kind of stuff. Because again, I have a family. I want to spend time with my family as well. So you kind of have to pick and choose. Can't do everything. But those are the two that I think have helped me the most.
And I think that what Mark's saying but not saying is that consistent participation in that group helped you scale and grow your firm. Even the non-practitioner like Atticus, it's allowed you to have another group of people to bounce ideas off of. We found disability-minded law firms there as well.
Right.
And so being in a room with people who are like you, who have the same mindset, the same goals, again, whether that's being the CEO of the law firm or being the trial attorney, the rainmaker for the law firm, just make sure that you're around the same people who have your same goals and do that consistently. Because Mark's also told the stories of, going to AAJ for the first time and not really knowing anyone.
Not knowing a soul.
And then now I can't go 2 feet without Mark. And I'm like, I will meet you wherever we're going because I'm not
Yes,
waiting.
it is. When you first get to AAJ, it is a bit of a thing because I can't get to anywhere I need to be because I'm shaking hands with about 1 million people.
Yeah. And of course, the introverts like, see ya.
You're just dying.
Irish.
You're just like, where's the bar?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, let's be
at a
where's the bar?
At a reasonable hour. So, and I know that some of these groups can be very expensive, and so especially if you've got a small firm, but you're still recognizing yourself as the owner.
I will
Chokepoint.
dispute that. They are not an expense. They are an investment.
It
It is
isn't.
an investment in yourself.
If it's an investment you're not sure you can afford, I still encourage. I think that
Get a credit card.
getting a mentor or an accountability partner still a very solid first step. And if you don't even know where to start with there, email Mark. He's going to give his email. But email Mark because he has so many people. But I think just a mentor, someone who's willing to help you and to help you stay accountable to your path is going to be key to the next step.
I was counting it up the other day, and I was thinking about making a graphic out of this because I was going to do a presentation on my top 10 tips to some young lawyers. But I was thinking about all the organizations that I am a part of that have contributed to my success. And I mentioned some of the main ones, but there are other ones as well. And I came up with about 12 to 15 groups. And I started thinking about, all right, well, I'm going to put like a collage logo up on a PowerPoint and just like all of these groups.
God.
Like, dude,
My stomach churned a little because I know how much you spend on
I
some of these
spend a
things.
lot of money.
Yeah.
It's like, it's in the 6 figures, easy.
Annually,
Annually.
together. But it is an investment in not just him, but like I said, me. I am going to PILMA. I would not be the integrator, the COO that I am now without that investment into me. And then similarly with your attorneys, they go to they go to a few TTLA events.
We give them a budget, and the budget is designed, depending on how well they spend it, it allows them to go to 3 to 4 out-of-town conferences a year. So about roughly once a quarter. And we let them choose within reason. But they get a budget, and you can go to more. Just once you run past your budget, it's on you. So
It is an investment. Mark is right about that. So the third point that I wanted to bring up today is about scaling into that 30-day vacation that you talked about, Mark.
The pressure test, the
The
30-day pressure
test.
test vacation.
The pressure release valve on the pressure cooker, right? So whether that's again this, I want to make sure we cover both because I do think we'll have listeners who are like, no, I'm the rainmaker. What do you have for me, Mark and Diana, today? So I want to make sure. I still think that it's important for you as the rainmaker to still take vacation, especially if you are keeping that very tough lit calendar. And so the Mark, you mentioned it, but the 30-day vacation test from that episode was a way to make sure that your team can handle the firm without you.
You want to make sure that your team can run without you while you're gone, including keeping up the revenue. So if your revenue drops when you leave, okay, you did not pass the pressure test. You have to be able to leave the firm and still maintain a constant stream of revenue. Now, how do you do that? You make other people part of your revenue stream. The revenue can't be totally dependent upon you. If your revenue is totally dependent upon you, you have built a prison, not a practice.
And so some of the things that you're not supposed to do as the owner is check your email.
Which I violate all the time.
I just want to make sure everyone remembers that.
Yes.
You're definitely obviously not supposed to take calls. It's the Exile Project from Atticus as well, right? Yeah.
It is the Exile Project. Now, I take a different point of view from, say, our friend Mark Powers and Steve Riley over at Atticus, who says you cannot check your email at all. I have a thing. My wife has to get dressed for dinner every night. We always, when we go on vacation, we dinner. We don't goof around and go to McDonald's, okay? Every night is a dress-up dinner when we go out. That's the way Mrs. Whitehead rolls.
Yes.
She takes a lot longer to get dressed than I do. So during that extra little time I have waiting around for her, I will quickly check my email just to make sure nothing's blown up. It allows me to feel good about make sure everything's good, and then I don't touch it again.
Which I think is an interesting.
So take that, Steve Riley.
Well, I think it's an interesting response. It's like, yes, Mark. I don't even know what you would consider something has blown up in your firm but instead of sending you an iMessage, which is an instantaneous alert. I mean, you haven't muted me yet, have you? Like my notifications still pop up whenever I text you?
I don't want to
Oh,
comment.
come on, Mark. That's rude. But also, how about this? Unmute me when you go. But I just think it's an interesting choice. So it's severe enough. You do recognize this, right? It's severe enough that I'm going to email you on your vacation, but I'm going to email you. I'm not going to iMessage you.
Okay. All right.
You don't recognize the disconnect there?
I see the disconnect.
Okay. Well, as long as we recognize the disconnect here. So, but my point here is that whichever role you choose to take, don't start with the 30-day pressure test. And I think this is something we also harped on at the beginning, or at least I should have. I think we should start with mini vacations. Mark, you're going to be gone for muscle minus, 2 weeks?
Roughly 2 weeks.
So Mark did not do this my first year at the firm. I mean, it was COVID, but absent COVID.
Where was there to go? There was nowhere to go. Okay.
Absent a global pandemic. We didn't do this my first year when he started handing the reins to me. We baby stepped it into, long weekends. Until now at 5.5 years, you probably hopefully feel comfortable taking longer than 2 weeks, but in revenue would not drop, but because we've set it up that way. If you are still the trial attorney, the rainmaker of the firm, we're going to talk a little bit about some strategies and a couple of points that you can do to make sure that you feel confident that your revenue, even if it does maybe drop then a little bit while you do this, that you feel comfortable that it'll pick back up when you're back in office. The fourth point that I wanted to make, and it wouldn't be a Diana outline if I didn't say it, document all your processes.
Duh.
Well, I think that where we left the listeners last time is that, well, a lot of these processes live in the owner's head, right?
Yeah, that's a dangerous place for places to live.
Yes, and so we didn't give them really a solution. So obviously all the things that we talk about here create a training platform. Mark, when you started doing this, handing the reins over to your team, even before me, because you were well on your way before me, what one process, 2 or 3 processes were you surprised lived only in your head?
How to settle a case.
You had attorneys by then.
I know, but we had discussed it, but we had never written down a process.
Okay.
And especially a lot of the ERISA litigation that we do, and the ERISA is a little bit unique in its
It
own.
is.
It has a lot of little traps in it. And we had never really written it down. So I finally wrote it down. I wrote it down a one pager. I had to use small font, but I wanted to get it all on one page. I think this is a key thing for a lot of
Yeah.
very important things is don't create war and peace. One pagers are brilliant. If it takes more than one page, break it up into two processes. But I just created a one-page process. And a lot of it is a checklist. You just like, all right, here's a trap. Check, make sure you didn't fall in that trap. Here's a trap. Check, make sure you didn't fall in that trap. Boom, boom, boom. But don't assume that your lawyers know and will remember every little bit of what should be on that checklist. So give them a checklist.
And I also think you talk a lot about your computer programming days on this podcast, but the decision trees are just as important as the checklist. If this happens, then do this, then move to this checklist.
Right. A series of if-thens, which I love to flowchart out. Flowcharts are great for if-then thinking. If I can't think of one off the top of my head, but if you get a pleading that says this, then your next two questions are these two questions. And if it says this, then you go in this direction. But you need to look at each of these things and see where this little factoid pivots you in your decision-making process.
It's one of those things like the motion to compel. That's the one I know that's very
that's a good
specific. When can you do the motion to compel? Not just how you do it, but what triggers a motion to compel? Because think about it. Now Marc's attorneys are just sitting there like waiting on these discovery responses or waiting for opposing to respond. Like, no.
Well, the main thing they're doing setting up the checklist is number one, they won't come ask me the question because I just you don't know this.
Yeah. Maybe that's a whole separate podcast as your approach to your attorneys asking you for advice there, Marc.
Did you not learn this long time ago? I don't know.
But I do think, especially for the rainmakers, that's an important one. How you want your cases still continue in your way, how you want your cases to still move forward, even though you're not in the building.
Right.
So then number 5, Marc, 5 of our 6 points today. I did have 6 points.
6 whole points,
which I felt was lengthy, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm bringing it home, guys.
That's why you're talking so fast.
Well, I do appreciate our listeners' time, though I would be surprised. I'm being curious.
I know.
When they're my podcasts, do they still listen to us at 1.5, or do they have to take us back down to 1.25 because it's me talking?
All right, so I have to
fast.
tell a side story just to screw up your timing. So I was listening to Tom Tona's podcast the other day, and he had, Tom's like this guy from Long Island, New York, and he sounds like he's from Long Island, New York, but he's a great lawyer. Love Tom to death. And he's talking to one of his vendors that is doing his LinkedIn stuff. And I swear to God, the vendor is at 1.5. And Tom is at 0.8, maybe 0.9. Okay. So Tom's just talking along, and I'm probably not doing Tom justice. I don't know how to do a Long Island accent. And his vendor is just, I swear to God, it sounds like 1.5. And I'm like, I can't slow it down and I can't speed it up. And just because they're on different speeds.
Our listeners guys, that's y'all every podcast.
It is not. I'm like, this guy was insane. I think he might have been up to 1.7. I just, they
messed up the audio. This is
I'm just saying, somebody give this guy a pill or something. But
okay, well, I will try to talk.
It's very interesting.
Slower.
I recommend Tom Tona's podcast, so go look up.
I do listen. He is one of my regulars.
Yes.
So my 5th point is to set up safeguards and protocols before you leave for your peace of mind. We talked a little bit about the bat phone, which I love, right? Just set up a whole nother phone number. If it doesn't ring, everything's fine, which I think is brilliant, right? It makes sense. Then that way, I understand you wanting to check your email for maintenance purposes. That totally makes sense to me. But expecting to get an urgent email when you're on vacation from your regular inbox is just absurd to me.
Yeah.
I like the idea of pre-departure and post-departure meetings. So that's an Atticusism as well. Do meetings with all of your direct reports before you leave. Make sure you cover your outstanding issues, what you expect to get done, how you would like things handled, particularly if you're still the rainmaker and you have a particularly hands-on client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a litigator, cover your statute of limitations list before you go. Let's just cover it. It's either going to have to happen while you're gone, or you should just knock it out before you go.
Absolutely. And just as important, that the pre-meeting makes a lot of sense to everybody. But I think just as important is the post-meeting. Protect your first 3 days with meetings, staggered meetings with your direct reports so that they know when they get back that they're not fighting with your deposition calendar or your trial calendar right away, that they know that they have their set time. They're going to come with all of their outstanding questions and issues. It gives everybody, not just you, peace of mind that there will be dedicated time for the catch up.
Right. So everybody can time out. Especially when they have to put issues on hold waiting on you, like, all right, we know, and I can, like, you can tell your vendor, your client, or whatever, we will get an answer on this date.
Exactly. And everybody knows it. So then now you're not stressing out that when you come back, you have the important deposition already, like the first day or even the second day. And your team's like, but wait, I haven't gone over cash flow yet. I have bills to pay or
Right.
whatever the case may be. Marc, I think you've told the story. So hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn here. But you once had an employee when you were on a cruise, if I remember the story correctly.
Sounds about right.
So cruise years ago, so it's not like cruise now where you have iMessage or,
Oh, speaking of which, this was my honeymoon cruise.
Oh, I didn't know it was that
Yes, now that
bad.
I thought about it, this was honeymoon. Yes.
Okay. Well, so the story goes that this employee writes all the checks for all bills outstanding and then stamps them and puts them in the outbox and then quits.
And then quits.
Quits.
So she overdrew our checking account by an insane amount of money because there was no money to cover all of these bills that she was going to pay because I had been gone on my honeymoon because this is before I, was smart enough to prep for these things. And I came back and we were screwed.
So now
I had to call my banker and just beg. I said, I had a small little $10,000 line of credit, and I just said, "Look, this is what happened, and I'm kind of screwed at the moment. Can you help me?" And he was nice enough to triple my line of credit and loan me the
Wow.
money
That's pretty impressive. So now,
from a
but let's
$10,000 to
pretend
$30,000 line of credit. That was big money back in those
it
days.
still is, I'm sure, for many law firms that are listening. So, Marc, let's assume now same set of facts, but we're now in today's day and age, and you're on a cruise. Is this same scenario? Hey, and I'm just throw poor Leslie under the bus. Leslie said, "I'm out. See ya." And by the way, she's sent all the check. Is that a bat phone?
That's a bad phone.
That's a bat phone.
That's a financial issue that probably is beyond anybody's competency and or authority to deal with, and I would call that kind of an emergency.
So I do, and I think that those are the scenarios that you have to run through. Obviously, no one's going to conceive of that. Let's hope you're not conceiving of that eventuality. But things like, one of our senior attorneys has resigned. Is that a bat phone issue? And I think that those are the things that give everybody peace of mind that we understand how the bat phone should be used if that's the path that you're going to go. But also, if not, it's still a decision tree, those types of things. What are you going to do? Because the last thing you want to do is, get mad at your team when you come back for not
Yeah.
handling a situation correctly.
I would say one thing that is not a bat phone issue is any issue with regard to a client, because everybody's empowered and delegated to deal with that. So you don't need me for that. I'm not even sure you need me if anybody quits, unless maybe it's a really high level person.
I think long tenured employees, maybe few of our team leads, as well as attorneys.
Okay.
That's the head. That's my decision tree in the head.
If a paralegal
In
quits,
head.
you don't need to call me.
Yeah, and I haven't before. But as we wrap up the segment, obviously, I think the sixth point is to measure, debrief, and improve. That's just, it's the closing of the loop. It's that last 10%. When you have your post vacation meetings, make sure you dedicate a little bit of time to have these types of discussions. Okay, well, I thought I should have called you about this. Would you have wanted to know? If something breaks, and I think I said this as well in the prior podcast, don't take it as a sign that you should not ever take another vacation. That is not proof positive that your team can't handle this without you and that you're the most important person in the firm and that you will just have to stay the choke point of your law firm. That's not the lesson to be learned there. It just means that you just have to, again, debrief and improve.
Okay.
So, Mark, any closing thoughts?
I would say I'm just kind of keep going back to it's a fundamental change in mindset. You have to be comfortable knowing that when you're gone, there's somebody back at your office screwing something up, and you just have to be okay with it because absent a statute of limitations, everything can be dealt with, everything can be fixed. There's processes and procedures in place. You have supervisors in place. It's okay. You just have to get comfortable with the fact that somebody's messing something up somewhere, or I'll be more specific, somebody's not doing things up to your particular standards at that moment. It's okay. You will survive.
And just in case any law lawyers out there have any misconception, that's probably happening when you're in the building too.
That's probably true. It's
You
absolutely
don't have to
happening
leave
right
for that
underneath
to
your nose.
happen. Just so we're clear. So hopefully that allows you or gives you even more freedom
Yeah.
to take that vacation. So when we come back, our 5 takeaways from this episode.
This is Marc Whitehead, lawyer, entrepreneur, and business coach. Thanks for listening to the Successful Barrister podcast. If we've stirred your juices, hit me up with an email at marc@marcwhitehead.com. Remember, Marc is spelled with a C. And get on the Successful Barrister newsletter mailing list. Even better, let's set up a call. I'd love to talk to you about working together, talk shop, or just shooting the breeze.
And we're back. I really like doing that.
I know. See,
It does go to my head, I think. And we're back with, I guess, our follow-up episode on how to keep from being the choke point in your law firm. So, Mark, what's your first takeaway from today's episode?
I would say, as we kind of stated at the very beginning, you have to choose a path. Are you the CEO of your firm? Or you're the practicing trial lawyer? Are you the producer? Maybe translate that in case, we have people out there that aren't necessarily trial lawyers, maybe estate planners and people like that. But, are you the CEO of the firm or are you the producer of the firm? Whatever production looks like in your particular firm, I think you have to make a conscious decision. And I think most lawyers that I have seen that are successful, they all started out as the producers. I mean, that's what we're trained to do. That's what we go to law school to do. That's what young lawyers do. They work hard. They work 80 hours a week or whatever. Not that I ever worked 80 hours a week in my life, but it sounds good when I say it to my kids.
Walked uphill both ways.
Yeah, walked uphill both ways. But whatever that looks like, and if that's what you want to continue to do, but set up an infrastructure that supports you in that. Or if you want to make the choice that I did, the CEO route, my job now, as I said, the 3Ms is the 3Ms is to market the firm, manage the firm, and mentor my people. So that's the decision I have made, and I have hired the producers in our firm, the litigators, the attorneys that do the hearings and so forth. So I've made that conscious choice, and again, that was a mindset shift. That was putting my ego, back in my back pocket. But it was a decision I made because I've decided the life that I wanted to live.
And then once you make that decision, I think that you have to, the importance of community cannot be overstated, whichever decision you take. And so make sure you get into the right rooms with your people, your tribe, and do that consistently. I think that that's the most important thing. Mark did not go from knowing no one at AAJ to knowing everyone. Took you, how many years have you been going to AAJ?
I've been a member of AAJ for 33 years.
Yep. So there's a lot.
I've been going that long, but I've been a member that long.
But you've been consistently investing into that organization. And so even if it's not an organization that you can financially afford at this point, find a mentor, reach out to Mark and see if he knows anyone in the industry who would be willing to mentor at this point. Find an accountability partner, someone who's just going to help you stay on the path of not being the choke point of your law firm.
Okay. I would say the third tip on our list is scale into stepping away. Mini vacations before marathon vacations. So perfect thing that I did is we used to do try to do one long weekend a month with my wife. as opposed to extended vacations. So take 5 days a month, and do an extended weekend once a month. And now we're moving into longer ones. We're moving into 2 weeks, Quite frankly, I don't know that I'll ever truly do a 30-day vacation unless I go to someplace really far away, just because, quite frankly, I don't need that much vacation. But the real goal is the pressure test is, can your firm survive without 30 days? So maybe I go on a 15-day vacation and then I come home and just stay at home for another 15 days. Now that I could do. So
Okay. I think
I
that's definitely a
I like
worthy.
my bed. I really like my bed. So
You know what? I definitely understand that. I tell my husband that all the time. Staycations sound awesome for me.
I
So,
know a staycation would be awesome.
so I do, but I think that that's a really great point. The Exile project that Atticus mentioned, it's a great, future goal, but don't go there right away.
Yeah, work up to it. Work up to it.
So my fourth point would be to document what's in your head. There is so much. I think that Mark hit the nail on the head with the first point. You're in this position because you are a successful practitioner. That's the very essence of what happened. Basically, you are successful enough that you now have employees to do this, and now you're finding yourself in this blank moment. I'm the choke point. Now what do I do? And so make sure that
Was that going to be an oh shit moment? Was that what you were going to say?
no, Mark, I wouldn't do that because I don't want expletives on our podcast. Just make sure you document what's in your head. I remember when Mark, when I first started, one of the first things that he and I had to document was QuickBooks downloads.
I know.
Do you remember that?
Because I was the only one that ever did it.
And so there wasn't a process.
There wasn't a
30
process.
plus years, well, not quite 30, probably 28 years by then, and no documented process on how to do QuickBooks downloads. One of the first steps you have to do to having good books is making sure that that is correct. And
Right.
we didn't have a process. And so make sure you leave your team in a good position to be successful by documenting the processes that live in your head.
Okay. So the last one I have here is treat every absence as a learning opportunity. Measure what happened, debrief over it, figure out how to improve it. Okay. The feedback loop. All right. I was gone. What happened? What happened that was right? Good. Let's do some more of that. What happened that was wrong? Well, let's figure that out. Let's develop some contingency plans. Let's figure out how that can be worked through better the next time.
Yep. So, Mark, any closing thoughts, words of wisdom before we wrap up today?
It all goes back to your firm can't grow any bigger than the leader of the firm. Again, like we said
Then you
last
allow
episode,
it to be.
than what you allow it to be. Do not allow yourself to become a choke point. And understand choke points are not permanent. If you're a choke point today, you can work on that. You can improve it. You can eliminate that choke point. You just have to, number one, recognize it. And then number two, work your way through it. Figure out how you get around it. So that would be my tip as I slide the closing over to you. This is your podcast. I'm going to make you do it.
Oh, and then you're going to judge me for it.
I'm totally judging you for it because this is being recorded.
Well, thanks for listening to the Successful Barrister podcast where legal legends are made.
Are you sure you read that right?
Disbarments are surprisingly rare. I'm Diana.
And I'm Mark.
And together we are the dynamic duo of law.
You got that out of order.
If you enjoyed today's episode, rate, review, and share it with a fellow overworked lawyer who could use a little inspiration. Find more episodes and resources at successfulbarrister.com.
You really sound like you're reading this.
Or hit me up at diana@markwhitehead.com or mark@markwhitehead.com. Mark is always spelled with a C. Don't forget to our sponsor, Marc Whitehead Associates, a national disability law firm at disabilitydenials.com. Until next time, run a great practice and live a great life.
All right, I'll give that about a 6. Love ya. Bye.